So, like you said, when I was applying to colleges in high school, I applied to colleges in the US, Canada, Australia, the United Kingdom, and New Zealand. Obviously, those are all Anglophonic countries. I've always been to an international English school, so those countries were my picks. Growing up, my mom was always like, you're going to go to America to study. It's the best country in the world. It has the best universities. Obviously, when you come here, there's like you learn more than what you see on like the movies. I applied to like 15 colleges in the U.S., like 4 in Canada, um, then like about like 5 in the UK, and I got into all of my universities that I applied to. I mean, it's hard to say, right? I obviously haven't experienced the other countries, but obviously, as you know, if you're a student in America and you're international, like the work visa situation right now is like not good, right? Like every morning I wake up and I have to like check Twitter to see if like the president's done anything bad or is he like going to cancel our visas and stuff. And then I have like my friends who are in like Canada or Australia and like they don't have to worry about this stuff. So then like obviously like I had to pay for my plane tickets there and all that stuff. So like I was like, should I do this? Should I not do this? The other thing is I really love traveling, but as a Bangladeshi, like when you have like a bad passport, it's just so hard to travel, right? Like you have to like give them your birth certificate, like why do you even exist? 7 vaccinations, like 6 months of finances. But when you have a US visa, it's really easy to travel the world because like people trust that. So it's easier to get visas for places. So like I was like, this was probably my only chance in the next few years to like go explore the world. As far as advice, I would say try the first thing you should do is like always try to get a job on your university campus, right? Whether it's like at the library or at the cafeteria or like with IT or like building facilities and stuff. Because like the fact that you can show that you're working in a US environment successfully is so important to like an employer. Like they want to know that like Olamide or Ayman can like work in like a US business culture. And you may think like working in the university does not like relate to like your future business culture, but it still shows like you can work in an American context. So, the other thing that helped me succeed getting an internship is like I would like find people who had graduated from USC or like from my high school who were like working in the US and like not even like cybersecurity or chemical engineering, just like message them randomly like, hey, I'm like in the US, like wanted to talk to you about your journey, advice you have. And these people really helped me understand like how interviewing works and like how like to go about everything. And then obviously they would like guide me and give me advice on like how to apply, when to apply. And like when you're like networking, there's like you have to be prepared when you're networking, right? Like you don't want to ask meaningless questions like, hey, where did you go to school? Because obviously you can figure that out from someone's LinkedIn, right? You want to ask them questions like hey, which classes really helped you, or like which companies recruit like for these positions at the university. What's one advice you have for doing well at like USC or like Bowie State or wherever, all that stuff. People are willing to help you because like they like, at least in my opinion, I don't want an international student to be stressed about stuff that I can help them with.
But that is really really essential. So I also want to ask you a question. What do you see about certifications generally? Is it good for international students to get certifications while in school or when they're out of school? Because most people are like, it's very hard to get certifications. For example, cybersecurity, the first certification probably you might want to get is CompTIA Security Plus for you to start your career and things like that. Do you think it's possible you can get your Security Plus while in school? Do you think it's needed? What are your thoughts towards that?
Yeah, I think like 4 years ago, I would have probably said no because like cybersecurity like classes or like majors were not as prevalent at US universities. But now like we get ads all the time, right? Like like this school has a cybersecurity program, this school has a cybersecurity program. We have a boot camp and stuff. So I think in order to like truly differentiate yourself, like and if you can afford it, right? Obviously like certifications cost money. You should try to get like a Sec Plus or like a Network Plus while you're in college, because it differentiates you, right? As an international student or even as like a US student, like we're all competing for the same position, right? And like you want to be able to like differentiate yourself. Obviously, I feel like the standard is higher for us international students because like we need to convince the company that they're gonna hire us, take the risk of like all these visa issues and stuff. So it's obviously the burden is higher on you if you're an international student. So you definitely want to take certifications that will help you in your job. So whether it's like Sec Plus for like cybersecurity, or whether if it's like something else for like engineering, like study for certifications and take them. Studying for certifications also has an upside, right? Like when you're interviewing, you can like talk in like your interviewer's language, right? So if it's like if you're interviewing for cybersecurity, you can be like, oh yeah, the OSI model, or like, oh yeah, like zero trust and all that stuff. Like you can connect with your interviewer and like show that you actually have the basics down, right? Like nobody expects you to like know everything of the corporate world, right? Like there's some stuff that you're just gonna learn on your job, right? Like how to write like a statement of work, or like how to do a contract, or like how to send like a really passive aggressive mean email that's still really nice. All of that stuff you're gonna learn on the job, but like just showing you've taken the effort to do the basics. So I think certifications are important. I think in general in like the cybersecurity industry, I feel like people are now on like a run of like, hey, how many certifications can you get? And then I think people will begin to question like, does this person actually know the stuff, or is this person just taking certifications like to like show off, or just like, because ultimately I don't think you can be an expert of everything, right? You can know a lot about a lot of stuff, but like if someone has like 17 certifications, like I truly question like, like is this person an expert at everything, or less like is this person really smart, or is this person just like focused on getting as many certifications, right? And that doesn't like mean that person isn't actually really smart, but just like like there's like, I personally feel like if you're getting 17 certs, you're not really specializing in anything. So you have to balance it out once you start working. Don't take certifications just because like you saw 10 other people on LinkedIn take it and post about it. Take a certification if it aligns with like what your career goals are and where you're gonna go, right? Like there's no point in taking a certification that like you're never gonna use, and you just took it because like 10 of your other friends took it and like everyone's posting on LinkedIn, right? So like for me, I've taken a lot of certifications that like I don't use every day on my day-to-day job, but I was interested in, right? Like, so there was a point in life where I was like interested in data science, so I got like a Tableau certification. I don't necessarily use that on my job every day, but there are times that comes up that like I need to use Tableau, right? But just like don't get random certifications, because like I feel like a lot of people just get random certifications just because like it was free, or because like it was easy, and like they just like studied it in one day. I was like, yep, I have a certification. So and like know the value of your certifications, right? Like a CISSP is worth a lot. A Sec Plus is worth a lot if you're in college, or if you're like first or second year out of college. After that, people are going to question if you're like a manager and going for Sec Plus, because it's going to be a really easy exam for you.
Yeah, definitely. I really agree with you. Like whatever certification you're taking, like you first and foremost, you need to have like career goals. So based on your career goals, the certifications you need to take. Yes, I totally agree with you. I know a lot of people take a lot of certifications that they don't actually need, but it is what it is. And
it's not about needing. It's like, if you take a certification, you better know the stuff, right? Because like for some certifications, like like the answers are so obvious. Like you look at the question and this can only be the right answer. Like you really didn't need to study for that. So it's like figuring out what certifications are worth it and which you're gonna use and all that.
Yeah. Tell me how you were able to get your internship at PwC.
Okay, so my PwC story is pretty interesting. I actually got rejected from PwC like 2 times before like I actually got my internship. So I applied sophomore year, I applied junior year, and then senior year. Like so I graduated like in December. So like I actually interned with PwC like the August before I like started at PwC, right? So usually you intern in the end of your junior year, right? And then you get a return offer. But for me, I interned the end of my senior year because like I knew I was graduating a semester late, and I was graduating a semester late because I decided I want to complete my cybersecurity minor. So sophomore year, like I applied, I got rejected. Junior year, I applied, I got rejected again. But like it's like the same people that like come recruit on campus, right? It was the same partner, same recruiter, same few people from like the LA office that was like involved.
And you have access to them because you that's your position. Your position requires you. Your position while in school requires you to connect with this.
Yeah. and also just like I would go to the events even when I didn't have that position. Like freshman year, I would show up to like the PwC event, right? So like senior year, and like I don't think I wasn't getting the internship because like I wasn't qualified. I think it was more because of I was an international student. Like obviously there's a lot of qualified like other candidates. So yeah, and then like junior year, and senior year, I applied. I interviewed. I went to like I went to the second round, and then like so like and then I didn't hear back. Like all my friends heard back. Like we got the offer, and like I didn't get the offer. So I was like wondering what happened, right? And so then like I got like the rejection letter in my email, like saying like, hey, like thank you for interviewing. We're gonna keep your resume. Try again. You know the stuff they sent you when you got rejected, right? But then like a week later, like there was like another networking event, and like the PwC partner who like who used to recruit at USC then was there on campus, and he was like, hey, like when are you gonna accept your PwC offer? Like I saw that you still didn't accept. So I was like, what do you mean I didn't accept? Like you guys rejected me. Like how am I supposed to accept? And he was like, no, no, no. What do you mean we got rejected? Like we approved like your offer like after your interview. I'm pretty sure you're gonna get an offer. And I was like, he was like, well, no, you didn't. So like after that day, he followed up with me the next day, and he was like, yeah, it was a mistake. They sent me the offer in the email. And then I was on the bus, like back from university, and like he called me and he was like, hey, like, yeah, it was a mistake. You know, like we're going to give you an offer. And like, I literally like screamed on the bus. I was like, yeah.
Oh my
like,
God,
this is, like,
yes.
So this was like senior year, and like I had other offers, but like I really wanted to work in like consulting, and like I really like PwC. I really like vibed with the people who interviewed me there. And so like I literally signed the offer. Like I got home, I opened my computer and like signed my offer. Then and then. So then like I interned, and then after the internship, I got a full time offer. Obviously, yeah. And the rest is like I'm still here at PwC. So yep.
Yeah, wow, that's good. That's good. How's it been so far? Like, you know, PwC, your journey so far in PwC.
Obviously, you know, I love working at PwC. Like for me, like PwC is so amazing, and like the great thing about PwC for me is like, you know, if you raise your hand at PwC, people will give you the opportunity to like do the work, or like, you know, at least show them you can do the work. So like, you know, like obviously my day job is like cybersecurity, and like, you know, we do our normal consulting client work, but PwC's given me the opportunity on like a lot of leadership roles, and like a lot of like, you know, leading our internal organizations and stuff. So for me, like I really love PwC, and like I just love working at the firm. You know, sometimes it's like long hours, just like in consulting, but like, hey man, like, you know, like we're so privileged, like, you know, we like get to live in America, work in America, you know, and just like work at one of the world's best companies. So it's just like there's really zero reasons to complain. You know, you can only look at the upside, take it all in, work hard, and maybe, you know, in like 20 years you might have to work less because you worked hard now. So yeah, I guess that's my philosophy. I love PwC. It's like a great company to work for. You all should come work for it. There will be bad days, there will be bad weeks, just like in any company. Like you might get a bad project or like a bad client or something, but that like in the long scheme of things, that doesn't mean anything, because like at the end of the day, you know, what matters is like you have good colleagues you work with. PwC as a company does a lot of great stuff, you know, especially with after all of this Black Lives Matters and all the donations they've done, and you know, like all of the, you know, like the 40 volunteer hours they're going to give us with utilization. And I think a lot of people, and like even I have this problem, I was like, what am I doing working in the corporate world, just like helping another big corporation make more money? Like, you know, obviously for people like us that come from like Nigeria or Bangladesh, it's like, you know, there's so many people in poverty, and like, you know, I always think like if I can go back and like work back home and stuff. But you know, like working at PwC, like, you know, they pay us well and lets me like sponsor education of kids back home, like, you know, just like donate a lot. And like I'm big on like volunteering work and like donations. And you know, PwC gives us like $1,500 a year to donate to like causes we want to, if we like do an X number of volunteer hours. So like I teach English in here in Virginia to like new immigrants and refugees. And like those volunteer hours, like, you know, PwC gives us money to donate to organizations. So, you know, overall, I'm like pretty proud to work at PwC. Obviously, you know, we'll always complain about like bad clients, or just like this work is boring, or like, you know, I just spent an entire day making a PowerPoint. But like, you have to think about the larger grand scheme of things.
I know, right? I know, right? I totally agree with you. I want to talk about how to prepare for interviews, for what you think people should do, especially for consulting the big four, when you going for interviews with the big four, what do you think should be your uh the things that people should know and people should focus on while preparing for interview, especially with the consulting environment?
So first of all, obviously, like ask your seniors, ask people from your university who are already at that company how their interview experience was at the company. That's like the biggest insight they'll give you on the types of like questions or like what is expected. For consulting, it's usually for most people you'll have like a case interview, and then you'll have like a behavioral interview for the most part. The case interview, like a lot of universities have like consulting clubs, and like they have like old cases that they practice, or like the club does mock interviews for like its members and stuff. So obviously you want to be part of like those consulting clubs. That really helps. It also helps being around people who are also recruiting for consulting. So like obviously I like, at least like at a school like USC, like half the people are trying to like work in consulting. So like there's so many people trying to recruit, and like you're competing against your friends, and that's fine. But also friends can help each other practice for interviews, like get more information and that stuff. So I think the best thing you can do to prepare for a consulting interview is just like, ask the seniors and alumni like how their interview experience was at that company. Join the relevant clubs, because like they have old cases. They help you with mock interviews and stuff. Career services also sometimes does mock interviews at a lot of universities. It's all about practice. Because like suppose like you get into an interview and like they ask you like, tell me about yourself, right? Like you could go off on a rant about like, yeah, like I came from Bangladesh, like I like to fish in my free time. But like in the context of an interview, when they ask you like, tell me about yourself, they're really looking for like the stuff that ties back into the job, right? So like I'm Olamide, like I came from Nigeria, like I studied at Bowie State. I'm really interested, like I've been interested in cybersecurity for the past 2 years. I've done XYZ in my free time. I like try to practice this. And then you want to tell them a little bit about your background. Like in my free time, I like play football or like play cricket and that stuff, right? You don't want to go on a rant about your life story, because like that's not what they're really looking for when they ask you like, tell me about yourself, right? So you obviously want to practice answers to your questions. So you think you're giving them the right answer, but you're actually giving them the wrong answer if you've not practiced it, or if you don't know like what's coming at you.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. And try to make it conversation. I think one thing about consulting is you just want you to see because the first interview I did was behavioral, the second was case, then the third one too it was like I was speaking with a partner and it was still kind of behavior too. And I think what they're just trying to figure out is, can you have conversation? Like if we pitch it to client, can you have meaningful conversations and we'll keep on going, talking about meaningful things, and you can connect and things like that. And that was what it's all about the interview. The case study is not like it's a big case study. There are no right or wrong answers. They just want to know, how do you think, how do you approach things and stuff like that. So many people think like consulting interviews are really that hard and things like, especially when they make mention of case study, they're like, oh, one big thing like that, which case study is not that really that much of a big thing. They're just simple things that you can read. It's just like comprehension back in school. You read the comprehension and give answer to the comprehension, and basically there's no right. In this case, the difference is that there are no right or wrong answers to it. So that's really, really key. Well, I want us to round up little by little, and one thing I wanted you to talk about is what, or probably looking back, what would you have done differently? What do you think you could have done differently while in school? Maybe fasting make you probably make you stand out even more and secure internships faster than you waiting to your senior year?
I don't think like I could have done much differently as an international student, like finding an internship, because obviously it's really hard as a sophomore or as a freshman getting an internship. If I would do anything differently, it would probably be like just like stressing out a little less and just like, just enjoying the experience of going to university, or like hanging out with my friends more, because like I was more stressed about like trying to get a job or like trying to do well in classes. And I think that's well and good, but like if you want to be happy and just like enjoy the experience, make sure you find enough time to hang out with your friends or your family. Like, like a person who does extracurriculars, like play sports and has like a 3.4 is like a more well-rounded candidate than like someone who has like a 4.0 but has like nothing else to go going for them, right? So you want to be that. So if I did something differently, I would have probably like um done more like extracurriculars, even though I know like I've done a lot, but just like, like coming into the US, I love playing soccer, love playing cricket with my friends back home. But like I sacrificed not playing sports in university because like I was like I don't have time for this. So like play, like don't forget the stuff you actually love because like that's what's gonna keep you happy, right? So if you like to draw, keep being an artist. If you like playing sports, keep playing sports. If you like playing like Dota or like Fortnite, make sure you play that, but don't play it all the time, right? Like you need to do the stuff you enjoy, and like I think that's the biggest advice, right? Like you can't regret what you did at university because like you don't know, like you're a first time international student, you're figuring out yourself, right? So like I think for international students, like there's stuff you could have done right, but you wouldn't have known back then, right? Like dress up properly, like don't wear like a sandal with your suits to like the career fair. Like like I've seen people do that, right? Because like in our culture back home, like wearing sandals is normal, right? So it's like like in the US that's not normal, right? So like that stuff, like I want to say you should have known and done it right, but there's really no way you would have known that's wrong unless like you experienced it or like someone pointed it at you, right? It's like there's no point regretting life. Just like just like learn from your mistakes and just like enjoy university and just like do the stuff that makes you happy, and then also like keep your grades up, network. It's a process, right? Like it's not science, it's a process. And like if you do the right things and have the right mindset, success will come. Whether it's like you apply to 100 jobs and get one job, the outcome is still the same. You have a job. Even if you got like 10 job offers or one job offer, you still have a job.
Definitely. I totally agree with you. Like what you just said, I was just laughing and thinking about my days back in school. I think I could have spent some time to really have fun with my friends and move around, travel, see the United States and things like that. But it is what it is. I think there's still time to explore too, but you can't take back those moments again. But it's good. We'll look ahead. Anyway, it's nice having you here. Thank you so much. I want to say, like, what should we be expecting from you? What are your future plans? Do you want to share them? Maybe give us an hint or something.
I mean, for it's hard to plan future plans right now, right? With the visa situation, like you don't know. Like I can't go back home to renew my visa because like all the consulates are closed. Like it's so much uncertainty right now in the U.S. being like a international worker, so like I could not tell you what my future plans are. Like I hope I can stay here, like like work for PwC for a few more years. If I can find like an international assignment in another country, go do that because I love traveling and like experience another, but like if the work visa doesn't work out, obviously I'll have to like maybe consider doing my master's in like another country. So it's just like it's so uncertain that it's hard to even plan life out more than like 3 months right now with all that is happening.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. It's really something big. But I'm hopeful that things will gradually shift, changes course as we move through the year, and things will get better. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really do appreciate you coming on the program and telling us your story. It's and trying to advising fellow people on how they can make the best use of the current situation. Well, one thing I know we've talked about it, but I just want you to call that out before we go is I know the situation with the visa deal thing which you've talked about, but what would be your advice for international students at this particular moment? People currently schooling right now and people aspiring to come to United States or to study. What would your advice be?
I think if you're already in the US, you just have to keep trying harder to do a job, right? To get a job, right? With COVID and like with the visa problem, like the visa problems were enough. Like with COVID, it's like harder, right? So it's like there's like no magic formula. You just have to keep trying, and like if you get a job, you get a job, but otherwise, you might just have to go back to your own country and like find a job there, and like maybe in the future, if you work for a multinational, try to transfer to another country. If your goal is to like go work in another country, I think if you're planning on coming to the US, I think like you should give a long hard thought about like whether you want to come to the US, or like if you want to like try Canada, Australia, or the UK, where it's like not as difficult to get a work visa after you graduate. Obviously, I still think the US like has like, by the numbers, has still has more good universities and has the largest job market, and like if you consider. But as an international student, like it's going to be really hard for you to find a job. Obviously, like in tech, it's still easy to get. I wouldn't say easy, in like a frame of reference, it's easy for international students to get a job in tech if you like study CS or stuff. But it's still gonna be really hard, and if you're down for that anxiety, if you're down for like waking up in the weekends and be like, oh no, like I have to apply to 100 jobs today, and I'm like probably not gonna hear back from any of them. Like coming to the US is a journey, it's a ride. Like, you really need to have like a strong mind. You need to have good friends who are gonna support you, because there are gonna be bad days where you're just like, I made the wrong decision. Like I'm just getting rejected from all the jobs. They're canceling visas, they're restricting OPT, they're trying to restrict OPT, all that bad stuff. So it's like if you're considering the US, like right now, like with the situation, like I don't want to make like political opinions or stuff, but like you have to think about like what's best. Obviously, like there are other countries where like they're more student friendly, and like once you graduate, it's easier for you to like find a job. Like in the US, if you don't find a job within, I think it's like 60 or 90 days after you graduate, you have to like leave, right? Other countries give you like a year, or like yeah. Yeah, if you don't have a job like within 90 days or 60, I think you have to leave. Whereas like other countries, you have like a year or like 2 years and stuff. So like it's all like, I feel like it's a gut feeling where you choose to go. I think for most people, it's obviously like which place ends up being the cheapest, because obviously money is the biggest factor. But like if that's not the factor, it's like figuring out like if you want to be stressed, if you don't want to be stressed. But like the US still has like the biggest job market, the best opportunities. But there's like a big asterisk, is like if you find a job, if you get the visa, because like it's really hard to even get the visa now, especially for us that come from like African countries or like South Asian countries. So that's like an individual decision. Like people are gonna give you advice like don't go to the US, go to the US, don't go to Canada, go to Canada, go to Australia, don't go to Australia. Like there'll be like so many people giving you different advice. I think it's a decision you should do your research and make on your own, right? Like for example, like I studied chemical engineering. On the face of it, it's a really good major, but in the US as an international student, it's like next to impossible getting a job in chemical engineering for international students. Like the industry just doesn't hire international students. So like, where else like in like another country like chemical engineering, you can easily get a job after you graduate, right? So there's like more research you can do when you're coming to a country. Like for the US, that like CS majors get good jobs at tech companies, right? But obviously if your strong suit is like economics, there's no point forcing yourself to study CS, because like you're not going to be happy, right? But at the end of the day, like happiness is so core to like having a good life. Like if you're doing stuff that makes you unhappy, like nothing you do is going to make you happy. Even if you get like a 20K promotion and stuff, or like you want to be happy with whatever you do, right? To some, consulting is like the boringest, worst job ever. To some, like they love consulting. To some, consulting is just a job that like pays the bills. That's fine, right? But if you hate it, it's not. If you hate something, you really shouldn't be doing it, right? And that's the thing. If you decide to come study in America, there are times where you will hate your decision like anything, because like the visa situation is so uncertain. Finding a job is so uncertain. But for you and I, like maybe for like we got a job but like for every one person that got a job, there's hundreds of international students that didn't get a job, right? Like you and I, like we're on this interview like talking because like we have a job, we found a job, but there's like so many other people that like had to go back to like wherever they like Nigeria or Bangladesh, or like go to another country. So it's like what you see on YouTube and stuff is like obviously like the successful people, right? Like nobody goes on YouTube to do a video of like, hey, I went to America and like I didn't get a job, right? But like you have to hear those stories and also consider that, because like those are also stories, and that is also like a human story.
That's true. I totally agree with you. I really, really agree with you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me,
everything.
man. Good luck
I
with
really
all your
appreciate
story.
you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys today for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. I hope you guys learned a lot, and I am going to see you in the next episode. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel, and so that you can get reminders or emails once we upload new videos. Thank you.